IELTS Listening Test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Now, turn to Part 1. Part 1. You will hear a man calling a holiday agency to inquire about renting a cottage for his family. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good afternoon. Hilltop Holiday Rentals. How can I help you today?
Hello. I'm looking for a cottage in July. My wife and I want to take the children away for a week.
Certainly. Could I take your surname first, please?
It's Matthews. That's Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. And when are you thinking of going?
We'd like to come for a week starting on the 15th of July.
Right. Let me check. Yes, we have 2 cottages free that week. One is Rose Cottage, a 3-bedroom house with a garden. The other is Beach House, which is larger, closer to the lake, and includes a conservatory, though it's a bit more expensive.
Rose Cottage should be fine. It's just the 4 of us, so 3 bedrooms will be plenty.
Yes, Rose Cottage is very popular with families. It's not too big, but it's comfortable and well looked after.
Could you tell me where exactly it is?
Yes, Rose Cottage is in Horton Green, a small village about 5 miles from the coast. The village itself has a shop, a post office, and a pub that serves food every day. For larger shopping, the nearest supermarket is roughly 10 minutes away by car.
That sounds convenient.
It's also handy for beaches. The coast nearby has a mixture of sandy and pebbly stretches, so there's something for everyone.
That'll be great for the children.
And will you be traveling by car?
Yes.
Perfect. The cottage has private parking for 2 vehicles in a gated driveway, so you won't need to worry about safety or finding space.
Excellent.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
What's the cost for that week?
The weekly rate is £560. That includes electricity and water. Heating is separate, but very few people use it in July. There's an electric fire in the lounge if needed.
Hopefully the weather will be good.
Usually it is. The cottage is fully equipped. Bed linen and towels are provided, and the kitchen has an oven, microwave, dishwasher, and washing machine. Families find the washing machine particularly useful if they have children. There's also free Wi-Fi, so you can stay connected during your stay.
That all sounds very good.
And the garden is another highlight. It's enclosed, so children can play safely. There's outdoor furniture and a barbecue, and many families tell us they spend evenings outside enjoying the view.
That would suit us perfectly.
I should also mention that the cottage is dog-friendly.
We don't have a pet, but useful to know.
Yes. Another thing families appreciate is the location. From the cottage, you can drive to several attractions within half an hour, such as a small wildlife park, a historic castle, and a leisure center with an indoor pool. We include information about all of these in the welcome pack.
That's excellent.
Now, about booking, we ask for a £100 deposit at the time of reservation. The balance is due 4 weeks before arrival. If you cancel with at least 2 weeks' notice, we refund half the deposit.
That seems fair enough.
Once you confirm, we'll send a booking pack by email that gives directions, details about collecting the keys, and suggestions for places to eat nearby. Families often find the guide helpful because it also lists walking trails and quiet beaches that aren't widely advertised.
Perfect. I'll speak with my wife this evening, but I think we'll go ahead.
Wonderful! Just give us a call when you're ready and we'll finalize the booking.
Thank you very much for your help.
My pleasure. Enjoy your evening.
That is the end of Part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2. You will hear a park ranger giving information to visitors about Green Valley National Park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 13. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 13.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Green Valley National Park. My name's Martin, and I'm one of the senior rangers here. Before you head off exploring, I'd like to give you some background and a quick overview of the facilities and activities available. The park was officially established in 1972, and it now covers over 50,000 hectares of woodland, rivers, and open grassland. Each year we welcome around 500,000 visitors, so it is one of the most visited natural reserves in the country. Our aim is to strike a balance between protecting the environment and providing opportunities for people to learn and enjoy themselves. So rather than building playgrounds or large amusement areas, we focus on outdoor activities, wildlife conservation, and environmental education.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 14 to 20.
Let me start with some of the activities you can take part in. The most popular are our guided walking tours. These are led by trained volunteers and normally last around 2 hours. They follow different routes, but each one introduces you to local wildlife and plants. For instance, in spring, you'll see carpets of wildflowers in the woods, while autumn walks are perfect for spotting migrating birds heading south. Another option is canoeing on the river. The stretch we use is calm and safe, making it suitable even for beginners. Instructors provide life jackets and helmets. Children are welcome as long as they're over the age of 10 and accompanied by an adult. It's a great way to see the valley from a different angle. If you'd rather sit quietly, we recommend our birdwatching hides. These are small wooden shelters overlooking the wetlands. From inside, you can watch herons, ducks, and sometimes even a kingfisher, all without disturbing them. If you haven't brought binoculars, don't worry, you can hire them at the visitor center for a small fee. And of course, the park isn't just about nature. There are several archaeological sites here too. The most famous is a stone circle that's over 3,000 years old. Information boards explain the theories about why it was built, and in the summer, we sometimes hold evening talks there. Now, as for facilities, the main visitor center is right beside the entrance. Inside, you'll find an information desk, an exhibition about the park's history, and a cafe serving snacks and light meals. Next door is a shop selling maps, local crafts, and outdoor clothing, useful if the weather turns unexpectedly. Transport is fairly straightforward. Most people come by car, and we have a large car park outside the main gate. Parking is free for the first 3 hours, and then there's a small charge. If you prefer public transport, a local bus service stops outside the visitor center once an hour. If you want to stay overnight, you've got a couple of choices. There's a campsite inside the park, about 15 minutes walk from here by the river. It has toilets, showers, and a communal cooking area. Please note that fires aren't allowed, but camping stoves are fine. Spaces fill quickly in summer, so we recommend booking. If camping isn't your thing, there are plenty of guest houses in the nearby village, and we can give you a list. Now, let me say a few words about safety. The park is generally safe, but please keep to the marked trails. Some parts look attractive but can be dangerous, especially near cliffs or deep water. Always carry water in hot weather and wear sensible shoes. One more thing, please don't feed the animals. It may seem kind, but it can actually harm them, and it encourages them to hang around the car parks. Finally, our educational program is worth mentioning. During school holidays, we run workshops for children, such as pond dipping, insect hunts, and crafts using natural materials. They're extremely popular, so places need to be booked about a week in advance. To summarize, Green Valley National Park offers opportunities for walking, canoeing, wildlife watching, and even exploring ancient history. We provide modern facilities, but also work hard to protect the environment. Before you set off, please remember a couple of practical points. Take your rubbish home with you, as bins attract animals, and check the closing times of the main gates. In summer, the park shuts at 7 p.m., and in winter, it's 5 p.m. If you need help, rangers like me are around the park in green uniforms. Please feel free to stop us. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy your day at Green Valley.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 3. You will hear two students discussing their environmental studies project with their tutor. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Right. Anna, James, thanks for coming in today. This is your progress meeting for the sustainability project. How are you getting on?
Overall, I'd say it's going well. We've collected plenty of information, and we're beginning to organize it into a presentation.
Yeah, though the first week was rough.
We tried comparing two towns, and it was way too ambitious.
I thought that might be tricky.
We realized the reports were too much to process in time.
Exactly. Even downloading the council statistics took hours, and when we started skimming them, we knew we'd never finish both sets. So we decided to focus only on Riverton. It's manageable, still interesting, and there's a recent recycling scheme we can evaluate properly.
That sounds sensible. Why Riverton?
The town introduced a new recycling program 2 years ago, so there are clear before and after figures, and it's close enough for us to visit, which made the work easier.
Plus, the size is just right. Not overwhelming like a big city, but not too tiny either.
So you're focusing on waste management?
Yes, we considered energy efficiency, but there wasn't enough local data. Recycling gave us far more to work with.
Good. What sources have you used?
Mainly the council statistics, which show recycling rates before and after the program.
We also compared Riverton with neighboring towns that don't have similar schemes.
And what about primary data?
We created a short questionnaire. We only managed 20 participants, so it's not large, but it was useful. We asked if they found the system easy, whether their recycling behavior had changed, and what they thought could improve. It gave us some strong opinions to work with.
And what were the answers like?
That's quite common. Include those voices.
Yes, we're planning to use a couple of quotes to illustrate the range.
Good. So how will you present your results?
With a PowerPoint, graphs for the statistics, and photos of recycling stations.
We are also thinking of inserting a short audio clip from an interview to make it less dry.
Creative, but don't just describe. You need to evaluate. What's your assessment?
The statistics suggest it's a success. Recycling jumped from 25% to 40% in 2 years. But there are weaknesses. Glass recycling is still much lower than paper and plastic, and several residents said the council's instructions were unclear.
Riverton now sends less waste to landfill, which is great locally. But we found that much of the recyclable material is shipped abroad. So while the numbers look impressive, globally the benefit is less certain once you account for the emissions from transporting all that waste overseas.
Excellent point. That's the kind of analysis you need.
We're also planning to recommend clearer bin labels and better public campaigns.
Good idea. Did you check the council's promotion so far?
They've done some leaflets and adverts, but people told us they never notice them, so communication is weak.
Definitely mention that.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Now, about the presentation itself, how are you dividing the work?
I'll cover the background and methods.
And I'll handle the analysis and recommendations.
Sounds good. But remember, you've only got 10 minutes.
We rehearsed once and ended up at nearly 11. And you went off on a tangent about landfill.
All right, both of you. In presentations, clarity matters more than quantity. Don't try to show every chart. Pick the most important evidence. Practice trimming explanations to the essentials so you stay under the time limit. Examiners value concise, logical delivery, not endless commentary.
Right, understood.
Got it.
How confident do you feel about handling questions?
Reasonably confident. The only worry is if someone asks about international comparisons. We've read a bit about Germany's system, but we didn't research it deeply.
That's fine. Mention Germany briefly, but stress your focus is Riverton.
That's reassuring.
Good. You're both on track. I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. That's been really helpful.
Yes, thanks a lot.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 4. You will hear a lecture about the role of bees in ecosystems. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
When we think about animals that are essential to life on Earth, most people picture lions, elephants, or perhaps whales. Few would think immediately of the bee. Yet bees are one of the most vital species for both ecosystems and agriculture, and their importance far outweighs their size. Today, I want to talk about why bees matter, how they support our food systems, what threats they face, and what can be done to protect them. Bees belong to the order Hymenoptera, the same group as wasps and ants, but their behavior is unique because they have developed highly effective methods of transferring pollen. Pollination, which is the transfer of pollen from one flower to another, is absolutely essential for plant reproduction. While many insects contribute to pollination, bees are by far the most efficient, and their relationship with plants has evolved over millions of years. From the bee's point of view, it is simply collecting food, nectar for energy, and pollen for protein. But in doing so, it fertilizes plants, enabling them to produce seeds and fruits. Without this process, most of the foods we eat would not exist in the quantities we depend on. The scale of bee pollination is extraordinary. Global research shows that around 75% of all flowering plants rely on animal pollinators, and bees do most of this work. More than a third of human food crops are directly dependent on them. These include apples, melons, cucumbers, pumpkins, and nuts such as almonds, which could not set fruit without bee pollination. If we lost bees, our diets would change dramatically, becoming poorer in vitamins and nutrients, and food prices would rise steeply. Now, many people are only familiar with honeybees, the species we associate with hives and honey production. Honeybees are indeed important, but they represent just one species out of nearly 20,000 worldwide. Thousands of bees are solitary. They do not live in colonies, but instead make individual nests in soil, in hollow stems, or in wood. Despite being less famous, solitary bees are often more effective pollinators than honeybees because they specialize in certain plants. Another group, the bumblebees, are large and furry and possess the ability to carry out what's known as buzz pollination. By vibrating their flight muscles at a particular frequency, they can release pollen from flowers such as tomatoes and blueberries that honeybees struggle with. Without bumblebees, many of these crops would not yield properly. Despite their importance, bee populations are in decline worldwide, and this is cause for serious concern. There are several reasons. Habitat loss is one major issue. As agriculture intensifies and cities expand, wildflowers and natural nesting sites disappear. Bees simply cannot survive without access to a variety of flowers across the seasons. A second threat is the widespread use of pesticides, especially a group of chemicals called neonicotinoids. These substances can interfere with the bee's nervous system, reducing its ability to navigate and forage. Disease is another factor. The varroa mite, for example, has devastated honeybee colonies in many regions. Climate change adds further problems because as weather patterns alter, flowers may bloom earlier or later than usual, creating a mismatch between plant availability and bee activity. The consequences of bee decline are serious and wide-ranging. Ecologically, fewer bees mean fewer plants reproduce, which in turn reduces food for herbivores and then for predators higher up the chain. Agriculturally, the decline threatens food security. Economists estimate that bee pollination contributes hundreds of billions of dollars annually to the global economy.
Replacing bees with manual pollination would require vast human labor or robotic substitutes, neither of which is feasible on the same scale. The economic and nutritional losses would be catastrophic. So what can we do? A number of conservation measures are already in place. Farmers are encouraged to leave wildflower strips at the edges of fields, providing bees with a continuous supply of forage. Urban planners are exploring ways to design greener cities, such as rooftop gardens, community allotments, and parks planted with pollinator-friendly species. At an individual level, people can make their gardens bee-friendly by avoiding pesticides and planting flowers that bloom at different times of the year. These steps may sound small, but when millions participate, the impact is significant. It is also important to recognize the role of native bee species. In some countries, the honeybee has been transported far from its original home to pollinate crops. But over-reliance on this single species can be dangerous. If honeybee colonies collapse, as they have in many areas, entire regions are left vulnerable. Supporting diversity, encouraging bumblebees, solitary bees, and other pollinators provides resilience. A system with many pollinators is stronger than one that depends on only one. Of course, technology has been considered as a substitute. Robotic bees or tiny drones have been tested in laboratories, and in parts of China, hand pollination is already carried out because natural pollinators have disappeared. Yet these alternatives are expensive, labor-intensive, and far less effective than bees themselves. Protecting real bees is not only cheaper, but also more reliable. Nature's design is still superior to any human invention. Scientists continue to study bees in fascinating detail. For instance, bees use the sun, landmarks, and even the Earth's magnetic field to navigate. They also communicate through the waggle dance, a movement that tells other bees the direction and distance of food sources. Understanding these behaviors can inform conservation strategies. Genetic studies are underway to develop bee strains resistant to parasites and disease, though progress is slow. In conclusion, bees are indispensable. They pollinate the crops we eat, sustain the ecosystems we depend on, and contribute billions to the economy. Their decline is not a minor inconvenience, but a major threat to biodiversity and human survival. If we want a secure food future, conserving bees must be a priority. From international policy down to the flowers we plant in our back gardens, every level of action matters. Protecting bees is, quite simply, protecting ourselves.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Amazing work! You've just finished another full IELTS listening practice. I'm really proud of you for putting in the effort today. If this practice felt helpful, please consider subscribing, liking, or sharing. It's a simple way to support others on the same journey. Before you close this video, write down today's date and your score in your notes. In a few days, try the same test again and see how much you've grown. Also, make a quick note of the mistakes you noticed, spelling slips, typos, wrong answers, or things you just couldn't catch. Spotting your own patterns will help you turn weaknesses into strengths. Every session you complete is a step closer to your goal. Keep going. You're building a stronger future with each practice. See you in the next test.